Hi everyone. This birth story I was supposed to tell a year ago. I can't believe my baby's going to be one on Tuesday. And I told myself, since I didn't get this done right after she was born because the pandemic started, and we all know how crazy this last year has been. And so now, on her first birthday, I'm wanting to share her birth story, which is indeed my birth story too, because when a baby is born, a woman is reborn and made into a mother. And it was probably the best day of my life. Um, I think my husband and I can agree that it was even better than our wedding day. Um, and so I'll try to be as brief as I can. I might be pretty candid at times, and so for those of you that don't want to hear details about laboring and birth, this probably isn't the reel or story that you want to finish with. Um, and so you have a second right now to go ahead and swipe someplace else. so, um, so it was a Monday evening at 12:30 a.m. I woke up with like a horrible stomach ache, and I went to the restroom and I took the biggest dump of my life. See, told you it's going to be very candid. And I remember, because I took hypnobirthing classes at Birth Education Center, and I remember one of the things they said was that is a possibility that your body will naturally clear itself. And so after that, I was like, okay, whatever. I must have eaten something bad that my body and the baby and I didn't agree with. And so after that, I went back into bed, and then I started having what I felt were period cramps. And I haven't had a period in almost a year, and so that was really weird. Um, I woke up my husband and I said, I think this is it. Like, I think this is going to happen. But we were forewarned that laboring can take a long time. And so the best thing that you can do is eat, sleep, relax, keep your energy, don't exert very much energy because you're going to need it. You're going to need it for when you're pushing. And then I started timing my surges, and I call them surges, not contractions, because they literally felt to me like a wave of like electricity through my body. It wasn't necessarily painful, it was something that I've never felt before. And so I let my husband know. I text my doula, and everyone said the same thing, like get some rest, try to eat something, drink a lot of water. My husband went back to sleep. The doula said check back in with me. I tried going back to sleep, but my surges were getting stronger. And then I might have slept maybe an hour. And so of course, I didn't plug in my iPad, so I'm going to do it right now. Sorry. Okay. And so around 6:30, my surges were becoming closer together, which is what I was told, we wanted. Um, and then my doula came over, Tanisha, who's amazing. If you're in San Diego and need a doula, I found her on the Birth Education website. And my husband and I wanted a doula. We interviewed several of them, and she was the closest thing that felt like a friend or a cousin or like a family member, and she was completely real with me through the whole journey. And that's what I needed, because I had a bad experience with my OBGYN within a medical system. at about 26 weeks, I decided to switch over to a birth center and to have a natural water birth. So that was my goal. I had a backup OBGYN, and I saw him once or twice, and I was only going to see him if it was an emergency, if I was laboring for more than like 24 to 36 hours. And so we had a backup plan, but my goal was to have my baby in the water. And so by 6:30 a.m., my doula came over. My husband was up. He is so amazing. He set up the living room with the TV, had like aerial views and like meditation music of the island of Kauai, which is what we ended up naming our daughter. We had the blinds closed. I had tons of snacks and food, and my doula Tanisha, we had no idea, of course, like the baby's gonna come when the baby wants to come, and so, we tried resting. We also wanted to move it along as much as possible. I called the midwives at the birth center. They, let me know to keep in touch with them. And so I just remember times of just every time a surge came, either my doula or my husband, they would massage me. At one point, my husband and I were getting up and we were just like slow dancing together, and we were counting, because we knew that a surge usually lasted about 30 seconds, and so halfway through, it was like the peak, and then you would come back down. And so Tanisha did an amazing job of like catching me so that I was like relaxed. She would look at my face and say, what is this grimace look? Like, that's, obviously that's not how I want to bring a baby into the world too. And so she would catch me, she would check me, and I would recenter, refocus, used basically almost everything that we learned in hypnobirthing. And so my back started hurting as the surges got stronger, and I would sway on a medicine ball. My water hadn't broke yet, and so I was like, I think this is like every new mother, right? Like, when is your water gonna break? And is it gonna be in bed? Is it gonna be while you're standing in line? Is it gonna be while you're sitting on the couch? And so we knew that we had to get my water broken at some point. And so what did we start doing? The surges were getting stronger, and I just kept telling myself that with every surge, it was me getting closer to my daughter, to finally meeting her. And so I just rode out the wave, tried to stay as relaxed as possible to get my cervix to soften and open as much as possible. At one point, Tanisha recommended my husband and I do nipple stimulation, and so we went into our bedroom and he helped me, and then I freaked out because it made my surges a little bit like stronger, and so I like smacked his hand. And then let's see, after that, Tanisha recommended we go for some walks either around the block, and I was in like a comfy like jersey birthing gown type thing, and so and it was like really sunny and hot, and I did not want to go outside, and so I agreed to do laps around our backyard, and we have a pretty decent big backyard with a walking path, and I was doing these mini lunges around the backyard, and then finally I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the restroom. I went to the restroom, and that's where my water broke, and I was so happy. But as soon as I came outside that bathroom to let my doula and husband know that my water broke, those surges picked up, and then my body was telling me to push. She was like, let's do another lap. And I said, no, no, no. We need to get to the birthing center. And so my husband let the birthing center know that we were going to be on our way. We grabbed a bunch of pillows, packed up the car, and I just remember feeling every bump that my husband hit. Not intentionally. It could have been like the tiniest little pothole, and I felt it. And my body was just vibrating, and these surges kept telling me to push. And it was so hard, like, not to push. And at one point, I was afraid I was going to have my daughter in our car. We get to the birthing center. It's midday, so there wasn't very much traffic. We only live about 10 minutes away from the birthing center, thank goodness. I walk in the door, and I see Miss Sherry, bless her heart. She was the midwife on duty, and she looked at my face, and she said, oh, it looks like we're going to have a baby today. And I was like, yes, help me get this baby out of me. And so she's like, okay, before we do an examination, can you pee in this cup? And the first thing I do is I look at my doula, and I was like, they want me to pee in a cup? I was like, I can't. Like, if I pee, like, the baby's gonna come out. And she says, Camille, if you lose your shit now, you're not going to get it back. And so I said, okay. And she's like, don't push, breathe. And I'm like, okay, breathe. I go to the bathroom. My mucus plug came out. I was able to pee in that cup. We go into the exam room, and Miss Sherry does a exam, and she's like, oh, you're about 9 centimeters dilated. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, and they're like, let's get the water running. And so, you know, we're slowly getting me into our room at Best Start Birth Center, and they're filling up the tub. My husband has essential oils going. He has my labor playlist going. The lights are dim. Everyone is just happy, moving and grooving. I get in the tub, and for those of you that know me in person, I am pretty tiny. I'm like barely 5'2". So I get in the tub, and the water is like up here. And then they're like, oh no, take the water out. And so they like, you know, stop the water and they lower it. And then I am just like chilling in the pool. Every surge that comes, I try to breathe through it and not necessarily push. I remember looking at my husband, and they're like, oh, Dad, do you want to get in the water? And he's like ready to go put on his trunks. And I said, nope, like, I'm good. And then probably less than 10 or 15 minutes after being in the water, I began to push. I think I remember at one point saying, like, she's coming. And then I began to push. There was 2 midwives, my doula, my husband, and they're like, oh, we see the head. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I remember our doula looking at me, and she was like, Camille, it's gonna burn. But as soon as that head comes out, it's going to be like so much easier. And they were like, do you want to touch down there and touch your baby's head? And I just remember like holding the side, like the railings in the tub. And I was like, no. And then my husband's like, I do. And so he's like putting his hand down there. And like I said, I probably pushed for less than 10, 15 minutes. And she came out in the water. We held her into the water for a little bit, and we were getting ready to put her on my chest when the midwife noticed that the umbilical cord was only a foot long. So she made it to my stomach, which was fine. And I just remember being so tired and all I remember too is my husband's, like, as soon as like she came out of the water, my husband was like, oh my God. Now I look back and I was like dying. And we still had the music playing, the essential oils. Like, it was just such an amazing, like, vibe and energy. And it's like everything that I dreamed of. People were singing and moving. Like, apparently everyone like knew the music on my playlist. People were asking me like, oh, I need that playlist afterwards. And so I remember, yeah, her on my stomach. My husband got to cut the umbilical cord. Once it stopped pulsating, it was completely white. Um, and then I did notice, and they started draining the tub, um, and it took a while for me to give birth to my placenta. But then, oh, I forgot what happened then. I believe that I was bleeding a lot, and I was definitely very concerned about it. But they were able to give me a shot of pitocin to my legs, and the bleeding calmed down. And then I gave birth to my placenta, and the baby was with Will. I think she like pooped on him, and and then our doula and one of the midwives was like showing him how to change a diaper because he was like, oh my gosh, like it's starting, it's all here. Um, and so then I remember um, my placenta. Well, they saved it because I got it encapsulated by Care, who's amazing, by the way. And I was finally able to get out of the tub. And then I got into bed. And my husband and I were laying there, and I was holding a little Kauai Grace Kelly, born March 9th at 2:56 p.m. She weighed 6 pounds, 9 ounces. She was a little under 19 inches long. And I'm gonna start crying. she's the most amazing thing ever, and she's literally a dream. She's like everything I've ever dreamed of when I thought about becoming a mom, especially to a little girl. And it's just so amazing to see Will and I, in her. And even though she was born a few days before the pandemic, like, it was such a blessing. My husband and I have been home every day with her. She's finally starting daycare tomorrow, so that's going to be crazy. But, I'm sharing my story because you don't hear enough positive birthing stories. And a lot of women don't realize that they don't have, they do have, sorry. They do have choices. They do have the power, that we've been doing this since the beginning of time, and to trust your body. And my daughter has just inspired me to, move. Well, even before she was born, I've been working with women and children, and especially pregnant mothers, for over 10 years now. But, I'm about to sit for my test to become a certified perinatal mental health professional. And then now I want to teach people about holistic natural births. And so I'm going to become certified as a childbirth educator soon. So I just thought it was so important for me to share my story because it's amazing, and I want my daughter to see this and know that her father and I did everything we could to make sure that she was brought into this world in the most safest, calmest, beautiful way. Like, your baby only gets one birth. This is my only first birth. And it's the one that made me a mommy. And I'm so, so grateful, and I feel blessed. And, thank you all, like our village. Like, it was really, really hard to have a baby during COVID. But we got through the first year, and she's thriving, and she's amazing. And I'm forever, ever thankful and grateful for the team at Best Start, for our doula Tanisha, for Care, and her team at Birth Education Center. And I'm open to answering any questions for anyone. DM me, email me. Yeah, so thank you. And happy birthday, my sweet girl. I love you more than anything on earth. And I'm so grateful to be your mommy.